Welcome to Here to Be Human, a multi-dimensional soul. This is not just a podcast, it's a remembering. A space where soul meets skin and the sacred meets the messy. Where spirit is not something you escape into, it's something you embody here in this beautiful, chaotic, breathtaking human life. Each episode is a living transmission, a weaving of energy, truth, reflection, and remembrance, with questions for your soul, messages from beyond, and invitations to meet yourself in ways you've never dared to before. Whether you're walking through shadow or starlight, you belong here. I am Julie, your guide, your mirror, your voice in the void. This is Here to Be Human, and you are right on time. Your nervous system isn't blocking your healing. It's protecting your human side. And that protection is sacred. This is Here to Be Human, a multidimensional soul. Season 2, episode 10. The nervous system knows, and knows safety, healing, and spiritual embodiment. So before we begin in our segments, here is your reflection prompt to sit with. When you think of safety, what does it feel like in your body? And where does your system still brace, even when everything seems okay? When you think of safety, what does it feel like in your body? And where does your system still brace, even when everything seems okay? Just pause. And just let the breath return to your belly. Breathing in and breathing out. And you can always come back to this prompt and write things out, or just come back and feel into that question again. So let's begin segment 1. Safety is the foundation of transformation. So you can't heal in a state of threat. You can't expand when your body is still bracing, and you can't integrate when your nervous system doesn't feel safe to hold. And this isn't resistance, it's wisdom. It's ancient wisdom, your biological wisdom, because the body is the record keeper. And every shutdown, every flinch, every time you had to stay composed when you wanted to cry. Healing begins when we stop judging that protection and start listening to it. So what I mean by that is all of our experiences, again, the body, it's like, that book, the body knows the score, or the body keeps the score. I can't remember the exact title, but it's something like that. And that just means that the body and its biological ancient wisdom understands every little flinch, every little trigger, even if you don't get it right at that moment. It might just be like, why am I feeling this way? It could be ancient stuff from your past life. It could be things that you've shut out of your mind so you don't delve into it. And that's why sometimes people can go and have healings, and they can kind of, they want to work on some of the things, but they just feel like, why isn't it working? Why do I still feel this way? Because healing can only begin when we stop judging that protection and start listening to it, rather than being like, oh, let's clear this, and oh, let's clear that. Someone once said to me, like, because of life and its patterns, like, you always have to be in this cycle of clearing and healing and clearing and healing. And to some extent, yeah, I kind of get that. But I also feel the more educated you are on yourself and how you operate, that can be the biggest healer for you, as opposed to outsourcing your healing, which, again, I still believe working with people, counselors, therapists, energy healers, bodywork practitioners, all of that actually does help. It's always great from a starting point. It's always great from a maintenance perspective. But I think true healing becomes when you start listening to what the body is trying to protect you from, as opposed to judging yourself for it. Now, here is your personal story prompt for your journal. So, from your own experience, where have you had times where your body said no before your mind understood why you were saying no? And then learning to listen in order to help yourself begin to understand everything a bit better, and seeing how that understanding could bring about change. So this is kind of where safety evolves so that you begin to honor your body. So where have you had times where your body was just like no before your mind could understand the why? And then when you learn to listen to it, there's the possibility and the opportunity for you to change everything. So again, you can come back to this at a later stage, or see what comes through now and then see what evolves over time, or kind of just see how you've evolved over time, really, I should say. So let's kind of see what prompt we have for spirit, like what we're going to channel. Alrighty. So our question to spirit is, and again, feel free to channel along with me. What sacred function does protection serve in our human evolution? What sacred function does protection serve in our human evolution? I feel like it's like this deeper, ancient wisdom that is wanting to come out. And so what ends up happening, so that's the sacred function. So deep within you, you have this ancient wisdom. And when I say about ancient wisdom, it's kind of like all the answers that you seek are already within you because you've lived them previously over multiple lives across multiple timelines and eras. Jesus. Anyway, looks like I'm tongue-tied. I am filming this during Mercury retrograde, so I'm going to blame that. Anyway, only because I'm a Libra, and Mercury, I have Libra in my Mercury placement. So yeah, I'm just going to go with that. Anyway, so the sacred function is that ancient kind of knowledge that sits within our biology, right? And that protects and it serves our human evolution, because what we're trying to do is, if we were able to access all the answers in one foul swoop, right? Because it's all within us, then what ends up happening is the evolution of one, us as humans, and two, of us as individuals, like what we're here to do and what we're here to experience. It's like we need to have those snippets of wisdom slowly being exposed for us to explore, to heal, to evolve from. And that's really that human evolution. Because if we got all the answers straight up when we were born, say we got this blueprint and was like, oh, okay, this is everything that's happened to you, this is everything that you need to heal, it would kind of be meaningless. It would feel meaningless to have then this human experience, because there would be no evolution. It'd be like, well, I have all the answers. And when you have all the answers, but you haven't lived them, that level of fulfillment doesn't come. Like, have you ever had that experience where it's like, say, for example, you're watching a movie and you're really like, you're in it and you're like, and it's suspense and you're like, ooh, like, you know, what's going to happen in the end? And someone comes in and goes like, oh yeah, I've seen this movie and da 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 da, this is what happened. That person, that's the killer, and that's this and that's that, blah, blah, blah. And then you're just like, you feel deflated. It's like, then you watch the rest of the movie, but you don't get that level of satisfaction or fulfillment, or that kind of like, oh, that was amazing, I love that movie, because someone took away the pivotal point of the movie itself as to why you're watching it from start to end. And that's the sacred function that we have that protects us in order for our human evolution. And that sacred function is the fact that every single thing that we are meant to know as human beings already lives inside of us. but that sacred function doesn't allow us to tap into it. No, you can go to the best hypnotherapist and you will never be able to have every single part of what your soul knows exposed or brought to the surface. It's not meant for that. That's not how it works, which is why sometimes hypnotherapy won't work for a lot of people, or why certain healings might be profound for, say, your friend, but like not for you. They're like blah. They're like, that didn't do anything for me. It's because it's how your biology is set up and what you're meant to learn. And some things we're meant to just learn through experience. And we're meant to kind of, when the timing is right, and the timing is always divine timing. It's not when we feel like, oh yeah, I'm ready to kind of heal that. Sometimes it's just like things happen and then the healing process begins, and then you become awake to it a little bit more. And then you start to want to delve and understand it a bit better in order to release the heaviness or the burden that you hold. That is how the function of the body works, in order to make sure that as a human being, you are consistently evolving, but also as a species, we are evolving as well, which is why you'll find that collective messages, whether you're listening to, say, people like on YouTube or wherever, where they're saying like, this is a collective message, or astrologically, this is what's happening for each zodiac sign. And those things make sense, because it's like, oh, well, how can that thing make sense to me and also make sense to like a billion other people? It's because we as a human species, we all have the same answers. It's the experience that is slightly unique to us, because we are unique in how we process things. Even though we all have a brain and a heart, and we all have those things, but they will function differently, and our emotional nervous system will function differently. It's everything is different. It's like your blueprint is as unique as your fingerprint. Your relationship to certain things in how you process is equally as unique as your fingerprint than the way someone else will do it. That is why collectively we can understand a message, because we're all on this human evolutionary journey together, but our own personal evolution is what is unique to us, and that can then inspire others. So that is a sacred function. Now, your reflection prompt, write this down, and you can always come back to this later, or you can do it now if you like, and just pause the episode. So, what might shift if you stopped judging your body's defenses and began thanking them? So your reflection, what might shift if you stopped judging your body's defenses and began thanking them? Interesting. See how that lands. Just having some tea. Okay. Segment 2, the pace of safety. So real healing isn't linear, and it's never rushed. Your system opens in rhythm with safety and not speed. And sometimes healing looks like rest, stillness, saying no, feeling numb, repeating a pattern, not because you've failed, but because your body is integrating in its own time and in its own way. And safety isn't optional. It's literally the soil that growth takes root in. Your soul didn't come to bypass the body. It came to inhabit it. It came to really fully embrace this journey. So this, like I said before, the soul, that inner knowing of you, that blueprint has every single answer, but your soul will not bypass the body. It wants to inhabit it in order to experience it, in order to gain more data for itself, for universal evolution, to see how in this era, the human body, the human beings, and humans as a species are evolving over time. And so your personal story prompt for your journal is, from your memory, where have you had seasons where you pushed too hard to quote unquote heal, and your body just shut down until you finally let it rest? And I'm sure we've all been through this. So from your memory, where have you had seasons where you either pushed too hard to heal and your body was just like, no, we're shutting down until you finally allowed yourself to rest. And during that rest period, which is, I like to call it the integration phase, that's when it begins to heal. And if you listened to the previous episode, in episode nine, I talk about how integration has layers: emotional, physical, mental, and then the spiritual integration just goes boop, clicks into place. And a lot of that time, it's because you've rested. It's because you've released the emotion. You've released the physical. You're feeling it all. When I say release, I'm talking about you're allowing yourself to feel it all. The mental kind of anguish and torture that kind of is going on in the subconscious, in the conscious, kind of, it's almost like that you're like, oh, I'm so exhausted. Like all this has come up. And then in that moment of stillness, in that moment of rest, the spiritual integration kicks into play. So let's open up the space for spirit as well to kind of help us guide in the rhythm of healing. So the question to spirit is, what wisdom lives inside the pauses that we try to rush through? What wisdom lives inside the pauses we try to rush through? It's actually the missing piece to the bigger puzzle. So whenever we're trying to push through a moment where we should be pausing, a moment where we should be allowing our emotions to fully express themselves, our body to fully feel the thing that we're healing from, the mind. Like if we're trying to bypass all of those sensations, it's that missing key ingredient, which is why sometimes, and I've said this before, and I'll always say this, when we rush through our healing journey, when we just consistently go, oh, I'm going to go and get healing done every day or every week, or that healing didn't work from that practitioner, that healing didn't work, and you just go from this healer to that healer to that healer, and you try everything, and at the end of the day, you feel like nothing is working, nothing is shifted. And that's because you're trying to rush the process of healing when really there's meant to be moments of pause. There's meant to be moments of feeling whatever it is that you're meant to feel. And rushing through pauses can also mean not necessarily going from healer to healer, but it could mean that you are ignoring the fact that you should be pausing. And so what you end up doing is you start to fill your life with things in order to not feel the pause. Because that pause is where that deep aha moments come into play. That pause is where you get kind of like that deeper insight to be like, fuck, that's what's really been going on here. And I see it clearly now. And once you see it clearly, you can start to work with that newfound knowledge. And again, we can fill our lives with more work. We can numb ourselves with vices. That's what it means when you're trying to rush through the pause. You don't want to feel. And so if you're someone who does go from healer to healer to healer to healer and nothing is working, you're filling in the pauses when really you're meant to be feeling and integrating that healing session that you had, whatever that means for you. So your personal reflection prompt here is, where are you trying to hurry what actually needs time? Where are you trying to hurry what actually needs time? And I understand as human beings, sometimes things feel really difficult and we just want to get over it. But there needs to be a moment where we acknowledge whatever it is that we're trying to get over, because it feels uncomfortable. But it's sitting in that uncomfortableness that the true reason that you're uncomfortable will be revealed. But that's your reflection prompt. Where are you trying to hurry what actually needs time? Okay, so now we're moving into segment 3. Spiritual embodiment isn't a concept, it's a return. So, embodiment is where the soul lands and where light finds form. And you don't ascend by leaving your body. You awaken by coming home to it. And so when the nervous system feels safe, your breath deepens, your expression opens, insight lands a lot more, and integration sticks, which is what I was just talking about before. And this is the real work, not constant breakthrough, but that quiet relationship that you have with yourself and your healing journey and your healing story. So remember, you don't ascend by leaving your body, you awaken by coming home to it. And it's not about constant breakthroughs. It's like, ooh, like if we had constant breakthroughs, it would, and we didn't have time to kind of sit with who we are and really kind of revel in the amazingness of our body, of the human species. You'd find that it just became a thing that you did, and then it would still feel unfulfilled. The whole idea is, as you're moving through these phases, that there's a level of fulfillment that comes. And when I say fulfillment, I'm talking about where you feel it's that level of like safety, it's contentment, it's like, I feel like I'm home. That's that fulfillment. It's going to light you up inside. So here's your personal story prompt for your journal. So from your own experience, embodiment came when you stopped trying to be high vibe and let yourself be human. So from your own experience, did your embodiment, or write down where your embodiment came when you stopped trying to be high vibe and just let yourself be human? You allowed yourself to cry, you allowed yourself to rest, you allowed yourself to laugh, you allowed yourself to feel all of it. So write that down. And if you can't find an experience, or it doesn't come to mind straight away, maybe it's just a matter of like, as time goes on, you revisit this prompt and maybe something will come from it. Or maybe it's in these moments that you're going to allow that embodiment to come through, because you're going to finally allow yourself to be human. So let's come to channeling spirit about embodiment. Okie dokie. And how that becomes a path, not necessarily us trying to create a detour from it. Okay. Oh, that's a good question. What is true spiritual embodiment? What is true spiritual embodiment? And again, feel free to channel this one with me. This one feels like it's a big one. I'm sure it's probably the most simplest answer that will come through, but it always feels like it's a big one. Hang on a moment. It's a sense of feeling whole with who you are in the present moment. So spiritual embodiment is not something that you strive to get one day. It's things that can come on a daily basis if you allow yourself to see yourself as being whole in the present moment, even if you're working through something that you feel is difficult, or whether it's like shadow work, whether it's something that you need to heal. But even though you know you're working through things, you're working on things, you are still whole in that present moment. That is true spiritual embodiment. Because when you look at yourself and take yourself as you are and go, you know what, I am whole. I'm whole in this mess. I am whole in this excitement. I am whole in this love. I am whole in being human, and all those parts, the messiness, the love, the excitement, the whatever is going on, the drama, that level of wholeness is spiritual embodiment, because you begin to embody being human, but still allowing yourself to work through an awakened state of being. That is true spiritual embodiment. So here is your reflection prompt for today. What does your body want you to feel? Not to fix, but to honor it. So what does your body want you to feel in this moment? Not so you can go off and try and fix it, but so you can honor it. And remember, by honoring it, you are starting to move to true spiritual embodiment. And that to me is where real enlightenment comes from. It's not sitting under a tree. It's not having some elusive wisdom come out of nowhere. It really is spiritual embodiment, to me, is also the same as a level of enlightenment, because enlightenment is that acceptance of the whole as a human, because spiritual enlightenment is not outside of us. It is us. So as we move to our integration ritual, this is called I Honor the Wisdom of My Body. So I just want you to find some stillness now. So either you can sit down or you can lay down. So whatever it feels most best for you. And just place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. And if you like, you can close your eyes, but you don't need to. And I just want you to either speak out loud or speak to yourself internally. I honor the intelligence of my body. I honor the intelligence of my body. I release the need to push or force. I release the need to push or force. I allow healing to happen at the pace of safety. I allow healing to happen at the pace of safety. Even when I don't understand the pauses, I trust them. Even when I don't understand the pauses, I trust them. My nervous system is not broken. It's wise. It's listening. And I am listening back. My nervous system is not broken. It's wise. It's listening. And I am listening back. Now breathe all of that truth into your spine for me. Take a few deep breaths in and out, letting the nervous system settle into permission. Asking yourself, what is one way you can offer your body more safety today? Not to speed up healing, but to honor your healing. What is the one way you can offer your body more safety today? Now, your nervous system isn't in your way. It is the way. Your spiritual journey doesn't hover above your human. It moves through it. Our next episode is beyond the identity of the wounded healer. Wholeness within and without a story. So until then, breathe slow, walk gently, and trust the wisdom that lives in your bones. Thank you for being here fully. If today's episode stirred something in you, if you have a follow-up question, a reflection you'd like to share, or a way this conversation aligned with where you are right now, I'd love to hear from you. And if there are specific questions you'd like me to ask Spirit in future episodes based on what's coming up for you, send me a direct message at here.to.be.human.podcast on the Instagram page. Remember, your voice, your questions, your presence they're part of this journey too. And if you'd like to connect with me more deeply, you'll find everything, sessions, programs, and updates over at www.moderndayMedium.com.au or on my Instagram page, which is at modern.day.medium. This is your invitation. This is the return. And this is what it means to be human. So until next time, stay with yourself, stay with your soul, and keep choosing this sacred, messy, and miraculous life.